Transcripts and recordings of the podcast may not be used for any purpose without the direct written permission of the podcast owner. Welcome to LITE It Up, a podcast about resilient women balancing motherhood, their careers, personal lives, and all of the challenges that come along with being a superwoman. Each week, you'll be motivated to take action to lead, inspire, transform, and empower. Now, here's your host, Dr. Aginah Musherah. Hey, everybody. Welcome to a new episode of LITE It Up. I am your host, Dr. Aginah Musherah. I am so excited about this week's episode because I have a very special guest, Miss LeTina Brady Pettis, who is not only a Chicagoland native, but she serves as the director and co-chair of the League of Women Voters of Illinois, Issues and Advocacy, and as the director of Issues and Advocacy for the League of Women Voters of Chicago. That was a mouthful, but that means she's doing some very important work here in the Chicagoland area and the state of Illinois. Welcome to LITE It Up, LeTina. How are you?
I'm well in yourself. Thank you for using your platform to allow me to talk about my new initiative.
Absolutely. I am so excited to talk to you because you are doing some very important work. Our connection, I always like to tell people about my connection to different people that I have on Light It Up, but our connection is through the National Coalition of 100 Black Women Chicago Metropolitan Chapter. And I learned of an initiative that you are spearheading from our work with NCBW. And so I wanted to give you an opportunity to talk about the Get Out to Vote for Teens campaign that you are spearheading because there's some work that's going on that many people may not be familiar with. I shared with you that I have a daughter who is 16 years old, and I had no idea that until you shared this information that there was a reform bill, Senate Bill 2123 by Governor J.B. Prtizker, which allows 16-year-olds to pre-register to vote, and 17-year-olds can vote and participate in not only the primary, but in the general election, provided they turn 18 by November 5th, 2024. So, with all of that said, because I think I'm a pretty astute person, but I mean, there's so many bills that are passed, in the state. And sometimes, we're made aware of it or we do our own research, but you have done some work in the area of voters' rights and advocacy. So I wanted to give you an opportunity before we jump into the Get Out to Vote Teens campaign, if you could just give us a little bit about your background and your work as it relates to advocating for the right to vote.
So I want to touch base on a reason why this is so important to me is because my parents were, I always say, there was the unsung of the civil rights movement. This was something that was ingrained in me as a child, voting for rights. So for me, it's just like me continuing the legacy of my family, still fighting for people's rights and just other things that's taking place in our world, like women's rights, women's bodies, voting in prison. That's a bill that's been I've been working on with Chicago Votes to Pass as well. And that bill is allowing people who are serving a sentence to be allowed to register to vote as well. That's important to me is because guess what? What happens when these people go before the judges? We get the right to vote on our judge. So why can't they have the right to vote on their judges too? They are supposed to be, above their peers. So they should have that right as well. It should not be taken away from them because they serve in time, because they say that everybody has a right. So people in prison, they have a right as well, and they should give them their right back to vote. So that's something that, like I said, just spearheaded with me from from my family. Like I said, my family has fought for civil rights. And I just want to continue their legacy.
Well, continuing a legacy is always a great thing, but I'm even glad that you pointed out the fact that you are working on this initiative to help pass the bill to make sure that those who are incarcerated still have the right to vote, because as one who has participated in the voting process, voting for judges is definitely very, very important. And I think a lot of times, as you know, we are exercising our right to vote. Oftentimes, we don't pay attention to all of those different
That's true.
names that are on the ballot, not
Mhm.
realizing that these are the people that one day, we may, for one reason or another, may have to come before a judge. So it's always important to do our due diligence to research those people who are on the ballot, because we often focus so much on the mayor, governor, our senators or state representatives, and kind of glance over those who are running to sit before the bench. So I'm glad that you are working on that initiative. So, with the Get Out to Vote for Teens campaign, can you talk about what your focus is and why this is such an important initiative and why you decided to launch this campaign?
So I just want to reiterate what you said before when you made the introduction. So 16-year-olds can pre-register to vote. 17-year-olds can register to vote and vote in a primary as long as they turn 18 by the general election. The reason why I said I had wanted to do to get out the vote for teens, because I feel like there is a sort of disconnect with this generation on learning the basic civics education. But now we have the ability to say, hey, you know what, while you learning the three branches of the United States Constitution, guess what, now you can apply it. Now you can vote for those people that you just was learning about. And I want to get a bigger message out to the teens where people say, oh, my vote doesn't matter. It's not that your vote doesn't matter. Your vote matters. But my thing is, we need to understand is when we vote for these people in office, there's a line of accountability. And that's where the major disconnect is. We have a right to vote and our vote matter, but our teens need to understand there's no such thing as your vote doesn't matter. You have a voice, and now you can utilize your voice with the things that's going on in the world, with gun violence, like I say, with the abortion rights, with the with the women. All this is about them. This is a something's going to affect them. Affirmative action was taken away. This is something they need to understand, that this will be affecting them in the long run. So I need them to understand that it's not all about just learning; it's also about applying what you're learning.
Absolutely. What do you think is one way that we can get our young adults, our young teens, more, I guess, engaged or interested about the voting process?
So one thing I would say is, just like I say, incorporating their curriculum. I really want to do that in incorporating their curriculum. Have different mock trials. I know when I was younger, we used to have mock trials or things that was going on. Maybe start implementing that more so they can get a very understanding of what is really taking place, or just take a field trip to a voting location so they can see. I don't know if that's going to be permittable for to do that, by them going in the booth or whatever, but just get them a better understanding of what's taking place. Or we can just go out more. Should be getting our entertainers more involved in this, the ones that's in Illinois, and let them know that these are people that are looking up to you. Do it an extra step. Like, while you looking up to me, this is what's important too. Get your right to vote. So I'm just trying to figure out different ways to do that. And like I said, I need people like you, your platform, to spread the word that this is something that's very important. Our teens, I'm not going to see that. I'm not going to say they are not approachable, but
Mhm.
sometimes our approach is not what they used to. We need to tap into what they're used to, like the social media, the TikTok and Instagram. We need to make it so presentable to them to say, hey, oh, they have this get out to vote for teens, let me see what's going on with that. Make it something approachable for them to understand.
And you know what? As I'm thinking about reflecting on my own experience with my children, I remember when they were very young, whenever I would go to vote, I would take them with me.
Mm-hmm.
They would go inside the voting booth with me. And I'm reminded of a picture of my 16-year-old where she was about 3 and she had the little, sticker that
Mm-hmm.
she voted, although she didn't. But but then with my now 19-year-olds, when they voted before they went off to school, we went together. And I do recall them saying, why does my vote even matter? So as much as I had instilled in them that you
Mhm.
need to make sure that you vote, um, they still question, well, what does it matter anyway? And for them in particular, because they were going away to school, so they were going to be living in another state, for several months out of the year. And they didn't know why I was making such a big deal about them voting before they left for school. And I said, but whatever happens here, the elected officials here in Illinois, this is still your home
Absolutely.
state. So it still makes a difference for you to exercise your right to vote. But I do agree with you. If we can meet our young people where they are, we have to communicate with them in a manner in which they're going to receive the message. So, what are you doing in terms of, I know there's supposed to be a kickoff that you are organizing. I'd love to learn how more about that and then how we can get involved to support the efforts.
So right now I am creating a kickoff. It's January 17th at Simeon Career Academy from 10 to 12 p.m. I'm also creating, no, not creating, I'm actually starting a coalition of other organizations who wants to get involved. Like I said, this is not just a Chicago, this is a state law. And I know I can't do all this by myself. So I'm trying to work on getting a coalition started where different organizations will go to different high schools and help try to build this momentum of trying to get these teens registered to vote. So with the kickoff, like I just stated, it's going to be January 17th. And hopefully I'm trying to get the governor to attend. So because he the one signed the bill. So I'm hoping he can attend and he can answer these questions. Some of these kids probably never met the governor before. How wonderful would be that the governor who signed this bill that advocated for you to register to vote for your voices to matter, let him come and explain. Maybe sometimes, like I said, a different approach. It might don't come from me since I'm working behind the scenes, but this is the person who said, you know what, I think this is a good thing. I'm gonna sign off on it and let these teens be able to register to vote. So like I said, I'm hoping that he can attend, and I'm trying my best to go out through all Illinois.
And I know that just a few weeks ago, last week, I think it was, you joined the Democratic Women for the Southland region to talk about this initiative. So definitely that outreach to different organizations that
Yes.
can help you, because this is not something that you can do alone. So I would definitely encourage those individuals who are listening to or viewing this podcast, if you want to help make sure that we get the word out, to make sure teens know that they do have the right to pre-register and or register to vote. LeTina could definitely use your support in that effort, because this is something that we can do collectively to help our young people. Can you just tell us, for those who may have young people who meet the qualifications, or, to be able to pre-register and register, can you just share with us what exactly does one need to register to vote? And is this something that registering to vote, do they need to register in person or can they register online? How does that process work?
Okay. For the 16-year-olds, you need to have a state ID or a driver's license. 17-year-olds, you can use your last four digits of your social security number. Right now, if you go register to vote, an adult, you have a paper form. So right now, with the 16-year-olds, since they are 16-year-olds pre-registering to vote, they want to do theirs online. So guess what? By the turn they turn 18, the information is already in the system. So yes, you can do it online. Even with the 17-year-olds, you can do it online as well. Yes.
Okay. And
So
what
yeah, go. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
no, go ahead. Go
No,
ahead.
I was just saying, like when we go into the schools, we're going to have our laptops there to register the teens to vote as well.
Got it. Now, for the 16-year-olds who are interested in pre-registering to vote, is there any type of parental consent that's needed, or are they able to pre-register without parental consent?
So they have not given us that information yet, but I'm just letting the schools know so they can tell their parents of what's going on. Like for the kickoff at Simeon, I
Mhm.
let the principal know that, hey, this is what's taking place. Let the parents know. So I have been doing that extra step as
Oh,
well.
okay. I
Yeah.
was just wondering because I know that for for 16-year-olds, I don't know, may or may not want to inform their parents, but who knows? Um, as far as what can you talk about what the benefit is to pre-registering to vote if you're a 16-year-old?
So the benefit is, guess what? You actually going through the process. So you don't have to wait till you're 18. You actually going through the process. You know what the process is. You know what the forms looks like. So now when you turn 18, you don't have to worry about that. All you have to worry about is just going and casting your vote.
Got it. Okay. That is good to know. That is good to know because I had my 16-year-old actually will turn 17 in March. So this
Okay.
is something that in terms of pre-registering that I will have on my list for her to do. If people want to help you with this initiative, how can they help and how can they get in contact with you?
So I have a Facebook page. It's named GOTV number 4 teens. Instagram the same GOTV number 4 teens. And my email is Brady Pettis PETTISL @gmail.com.
Got it. And then what type of assistance do you need? This is your
Oh, that's
opportunity.
a whole lot of. So right now, like I said before, I'm looking for organizations that's willing to help, and they can help me get into the high schools. You know, if you say if you would say if you stay on the south side, on the south side of Woodlawn, and I think the school is over there as Kenwood. If you
Mhm.
have a person over there you can talk to help us spearhead this, then let us know. You know, hey, I know this person, they're willing to help, and then help other organizations to get involved in different schools as well. But the one thing about it is you do have to fill out a CPS application form to get into the schools. And you don't have to do this you have to do this every time you go into the school. But the only thing is when you create your application, when you need to update another school that you want to visit, that's all you have to do is just update that list and say, I'm going to a different school, and that's it.
And then as far as the qualifications of the individuals who may be volunteering to help um,
Mhm.
register or pre-register young teens to vote, do they need to meet any type of qualifications to
No, because everything is online. So all we doing is pulling up the form online, and we just navigating them how to fill out the form.
okay.
Because I
All
remember
right.
back in the day, people talk about the deputy registrar, but I think
Right.
to me, this is something totally different because you're online. You know, you
Okay.
showing them how to fill out the form.
Okay. This is I am glad that you shared that too because even as my brain is kind of thinking and about ways in which people can help. Even I don't know how many high schools have PTAs. I'm the president of the parent association at my daughter's high school. And so this is definitely something that I think that I'd like to be able to take to the principal of Homewood Flossmoor High School to see if we can set up something there. But even if the local school council would like to sponsor,
Yes,
this initiative at their respective schools, I think that that is a great way for all of us to, collaboratively come together to get as many teens registered to vote
yes,
as possible.
yes. Especially you name all the list of elected officials. With the big one that's coming up is the president. So
Right.
that's next year. So they can be the first time voted for a president. I don't know if
Exactly.
that could be something that could be exciting to them.
Well, with the candidates,
That's a
we'll
whole
see.
nother conversation.
That's a whole nother conversation. So what else are you doing as it relates to? I know this is a very big initiative that you're spearheading with Get Out to Vote for Teens, but if I'd love to give you an opportunity to kind of touch upon some other initiatives that you may be working on. Specifically, I know you mentioned helping to pass the bill to get those who are incarcerated the right to vote as well. Are there other initiatives that you have helped or that you have on the horizon that you're going to be helping to spearhead?
So I can tell you about the previous ones because right now the Get Out the Vote for Teens is probably going to monopolize a lot of my time.
Mhm.
So you mentioned that I am a member of the League of Women Voters of Chicago. So what happened with me, again, my history, wanted to learn, not learn, but get more involved with voting rights. That's the reason why I joined this organization. So with this organization, I learned that there were something they were doing where they was going to register people who pre-trial in jail. So I got involved in that as well. I do that with Chicago Votes as well. So I want to give a shout out to them because I mean, they are on board with this. They are really, 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 really working hard for this. And once I started doing that, that's what allowed me to know about the voted in prison bill that they created to have the not just pre-trial while you serving your sentence, to have the right to vote. So that's something I will be ongoing, continue to work with them as well, because I still do it every month. We do it every month, going to Cook County Jail, registering I don't like calling them inmates, but
Yeah.
human beings,
Mhm.
the right to vote. So I try, my thing is I don't like labeling people, and I try my best to stay away from labeling people because it's a mistake. We all made mistakes. We don't know what happened. We don't know the whole history about it. So I don't like labeling, putting a label on people. So people who are in
Mhm.
jail,
Mhm.
we go into register to vote, and now they're making it so now while you serving your sentence, trying to
Mhm.
pass a bill for them, allow them to register to vote as well. So those are the two that I probably will continue to work on closely now with that, because it, like, to me, it ties into what I'm doing right now.
And how do you feel like your work that you're involved in? I know you mentioned at the top of the program that this is like carrying out the legacy of your parents.
Mhm.
Um, what type of feeling, I guess, do you have when you are working on these initiatives and you see them come to fruition?
Hmm. I never, you know what, even though I said I'm continuing the legacy of my parents, I never looked at it as something within me doing something. It's just like it's in my DNA. I have to do it. I don't
Mm,
look at it as uh waiting for something to happen. It's just like my dad, he died 3 years ago. And it's like me just passing the torch and keep doing it. I don't look at it like I'm just doing something this big. It's just like, hey, he started it. Your
mm,
parents started it. Your grandmother started it. Your great grandmother started. Now it's your generation to keep it up. I'm trying to instill in that with my sons too. This don't stop with me now. I'm creating this legacy for you, so you can continue to do it as well. So that's how I look at it as. I don't
okay.
do anything. I don't do anything for gratification. I mean, people tell me, "Oh, Tim, you're doing a wonderful job." I do like hearing that, but I
Mm,
just feel like it's in my DNA and I have to do it, and that's how I look at it as.
yep. And that, you know what? I think that that is a great perspective to have. But when you talk about legacy and continuing to pass on the torch, I would say too, it's the same like with this platform that I have with the podcast. My dad had a television program, Muhammad and Friends Near Muhammad Show, several other programs for well over 30 years, where he actually brought any political elected official. He had um, former President Obama, when he was a senator, on his show. All of the former governors were on his show, but my father was heavily involved in making sure that people had a platform to share their voice and to share the work that they were engaged in. And so I often have people ask me, like, how does it feel to have this podcast? And it's something that I just do because I do view it as an extension of my father's legacy. So I completely understand. And I want to make sure that those who are doing good in our communities have an opportunity to get their message out there, have their voices heard. So I'm really excited about the work that you are doing with
Thank
making
you.
sure that our young people understand the importance of getting involved in the voting process. But more importantly, registering to vote, pre-registering, but then learning about those individuals who are running
Absolutely.
for an office because they are representing your interests. And we have to
Right.
make sure, even as adults, middle-aged adults, that we understand that this is not voting is not just something that you do, that we need to be informed voters as well. So I would encourage those parents who have 16, 17-year-olds, even if you have an 18-year-old who has not registered to vote.
Absolutely.
make sure that you encourage your young person to register to vote, and perhaps you all can go and participate in that voting process together in
That's
2020.
right.
So make it a family affair. So one more time, LeTina, if you could just share with us how people can get in contact with you for the Get Out to Vote for teens. And also, I want you to highlight once again the kickoff that you have coming up at Simeon High School.
Okay. So again, the kickoff is January 17th from 10 to 12 p.m. at Simeon Career Academy. That's 8147 South Vincennes Avenue. And also, like I was stated before, 16-year-olds can pre-register to vote. 17-year-olds can register to vote and vote in the primary as long as they turn 18. 16-year-olds, you must have a state ID or a driver's license. 17-year-old, you can also have your state ID, driver's license, and know the last four digits of your social security number.
Awesome. And then if people want to help volunteer, or if they want to spearhead an initiative within their own groups in their own areas and communities, can they contact you just to kind of get some feedback on
Yes,
what they should be doing?
absolutely. So I have a Facebook page. Again, it's GOTV number 14's Instagram. And my email is, again, it's Brady, Brady, Pettis, Pettisl at gmail.com. If I don't respond to you within 24 hours, please send it again because I am getting a multitude of emails right now, which I'm very happy that a lot of people are catching on and want to be involved.
Awesome. And then once again, for just to reiterate, the kickoff is January 17th, Simeon Academy from 10 to 12. And
Yes.
this again is Senate Bill 2123. So if anybody wants to just go and take a look and review the bill, where Governor J.B. Prtizker signed off where 16-year-olds can pre-register to vote and 17-year-olds can register to vote and vote as long as they turn 18
Right.
before November 5th, 2024. So make sure you all do your due diligence of registering or pre-registering your young person to vote. Make sure they understand the importance of this fundamental right that we know, just we did not always have the right to vote. So it's definitely important for us to exercise that right to vote, register to vote, so that we can elect those individuals who are making decisions on our behalf. And I'm also going to challenge you all to start doing some research on those judges that sit on the bench too. Very, very important. So, LeTina, I want to give you one more opportunity to give some closing remarks. I really appreciate you coming on to Light It Up to talk about this very important initiative. So I'll turn it over to you.
So again, I would like to say this. When we get into the habit of letting people know that our voice don't matter, I want us to give it in the habit of what has been done and who has fought for you to have this, as you said, fundamental right. So if it wasn't your voice didn't matter, why are we fighting for it? So it means it had to have some type of power if someone wanted to take it away from you. So I want to get it so that we understand that our voice matter, our vote matter. But again, I wanted to touch on the fact that our votes do matter. But we also, when we put these elected officials in these offices and in these roles, we also have to make them be accountable. We cannot vote for these elected officials if we don't make them be accountable, because guess what? They are the safeguard of their constituents. They out advocating for us. So therefore, our vote matter. Just take it a step further and making sure that once we elect these elected officials in, we hold them accountable as well.
Absolutely. And that is a great way for us to conclude this episode of Light It Up. LeTina, thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
all of your hard work and effort. Truly appreciate the work that you are doing on behalf of our communities. So thank you for
Thank
tuning.
you as well.
And I'd love to have you come back so that we could talk about the other initiatives that you're working on. We know that this is first and primary right now to make sure that we get those teens registered and pre-registered to vote. So thank you so much for tuning in, but you're also welcome to come back to be a guest on Light It Up in the
Thank you.
all right. Thank you all for tuning in to this week's episode of Light It Up. Make sure you share this episode with a friend or a loved one. Make sure if you have teens in your home who meet the criteria to pre-register or register to vote, that you do that. And reach out to LeTina for more information if you want to get involved with pushing forward the Get Out to Vote for Teens initiative. Thank you again for tuning in to this week's episode of Light It Up. And just so you'll know, there will be a very special final episode of season 7 coming up in just a few days. So make sure you tune in. And until next time, remember to continue to light it up and shine bright like a diamond. Thanks for joining me this week on Light It Up. Make sure you visit my website at www.lightituppodcast.com or www.aginahmuhammad.com. You can also find me on social media using the handle at Light It Up Podcast. If you like what you've heard, please be sure to hit the subscribe button so you'll never miss a show. While you're at it, I'd appreciate a rating on iTunes, or you can simply tell a friend about the show. Be sure to tune in every Tuesday for a new episode. Until next time, light it up and shine bright like a diamond.